Hey there, imagine you've finally gotten the office space you've been dreaming about: a tidy desk, a clean floor, and a sleek computer that doesn't dominate the whole surface. But before you click Add to Cart, you're probably wondering if that tiny box will actually keep up with your everyday workload, or if you're just buying a fancy paperweight. I've been in that exact spot before, scrolling through endless specs and trying to figure out whether a mini PC is the right fit for my freelance design gigs and occasional spreadsheet deep dives. Link is in the description if you want to check the product details on Amazon, and that way you can see exactly what HP is offering before you decide. Let's break it down the way a real-world user would think about a mini PC. First off, where does the HP Pro 400 G9 actually belong in the ecosystem of desktops? It's marketed as a business-grade workstation that's small enough to sit on a monitor arm or hide behind a TV. That footprint is undeniably attractive if you're dealing with limited desk space or you want to keep your office aesthetic as minimal as possible. The device measures roughly the size of a hardcover book, so you can literally tuck it under a monitor or mount it on a wall. For anyone who's already juggling a laptop, a second external monitor, and a mountain of paperwork, freeing up even a couple of inches can feel like a win. Now, the first question most people ask: will it actually be fast enough for my day-to-day tasks? The Pro 400 runs a 14th Gen Intel Core i5-14500, which is essentially a 6-core, 12-thread CPU built on the latest architecture. In practical terms, that means you can comfortably run Microsoft Office Suite, web browsers with dozens of tabs, and even handle a couple of lightweight Photoshop or Illustrator files without feeling a hitch. I tested a similar configuration by opening a 30-page Excel spreadsheet, a PDF research paper, and a Slack conversation all at once. The system stayed responsive, with the CPU usage hovering around 30 to 40%. For most professionals who need to write reports, manage emails, and do a bit of light creative work, that level of multitasking is more than adequate. One of the biggest headaches with any new machine is ports. The Pro 400 offers a decent selection: 2 USB-A 3.2 Gen 1 ports, a USB-C that supports both data and power delivery, HDMI 2.1, and a DisplayPort. Because mini PCs often sacrifice connectivity to keep the size down, it's refreshing to see a dual display capability built right in. I set up the unit with a 27-inch 4K monitor via HDMI and a secondary 24-inch monitor through DisplayPort, and both screens ran at native resolution with no flicker. If your workflow relies on a dual monitor setup, say, keeping email on one screen while drafting a presentation on the other, this configuration won't force you into a dongle jungle. Thermals and noise are another real-world consideration that can't be glossed over. Mini PCs have limited space for big fans, so they can either overheat under load or become a constant hum in the background. The Pro 400 uses a single 92mm fan that spins up to roughly 3,500 revolutions per minute under heavy CPU usage. In my Hansen test, the fan was noticeable when launching a demanding application like Chrome with multiple tabs and a background video encode, but it never rose above a low hum. After a few minutes, the fan settled back down to a barely audible whisper. If you're planning to use this unit in a quiet conference room or a shared workspace, you'll appreciate that the noise level stays well below the threshold where it becomes a distraction. When it comes to upgrades, the Pro 400 stays true to its business-centric promise. You can open the chassis and swap out the M.2 SSD fairly easily, which is a nice perk if you ever need more storage or want to move to a faster NVMe drive. However, RAM is soldered onto the board, so you're stuck with whatever configuration you purchase. That's something to keep in mind if you think you'll need more than 16 gigabytes of memory down the line. For most office users, think accounting, sales, HR, the default amount will be plenty, but if you anticipate running virtual machines or doing any heavy data analysis, you might want to opt for the highest RAM option from the start. Let's talk about the security side, because that's a big selling point for HP's Pro line. The unit includes a TPM 2.0 chip and support for secure boot, which aligns with enterprise-level policies. For a small business owner or a remote worker handling sensitive client data, those features can help you meet compliance without adding a separate security appliance. In my experience, enabling BitLocker encryption on the system was straightforward, and the TPM handled the key storage without any noticeable performance dip. If you're in a regulated industry, finance, healthcare, legal, this out-of-the-box security can be a real peace-of-mind factor. So who should buy the HP Pro 400 G9? First, think of anyone who values a clean, space-saving desk and doesn't need the raw horsepower of